But over the mountains I am bound, by solemn undertaking to the council, to find a way or perish in the seeking. And if I turn back, refusing the road in its bitter end, where then shall I go among elves or men? Would you have me come to Gondor with this thing, the thing that drove your brother mad with desire? What spell would it work in Minas Tirith? Shall there be two cities of Minas Morgul, grinning at each other across a dead land filled with rottenness?
Welcome to the Wayward Wizards podcast. Today we're reading Book 4, Chapter 6, The Forbidden Pool, in the volume The Two Towers of The Lord of the Rings. My name is Logan.
And my name is Zach. So what did you think of this chapter?
It's kind of a shorty, you know?
Yeah, it's only like 10 pages in my edition.
I really like that we get a little more interiority for Frodo in this chapter. His feelings about Gollum and his sneaky trick to get Gollum to come with him and his willingness. I think it's really interesting. His talk about how he's going to keep faith with, he has to keep faith with his quest and with the kind of men of Gondor and with Smeagol, who's the faithless one.
Yeah.
And so it's really complicated, psychologically, I think. And I enjoy that.
Yeah. I know we've spent a lot of time the last, 6 chapters or so talking about oaths, but I think I'm going to have to wax poetic about oaths a few more times in this episode.
Well, you can always cut it out when you decided it was a waste of time.
Yeah. A little peek behind the veil. If you feel like I've been talking too much about oaths, just know that I share that opinion and I cut so much out of the last few episodes. But, there is this sense of it's like, all right, you have Smeagol's oath to Frodo. But then Frodo very much has a sense of yeah, maybe I didn't speak an oath to Gollum to protect him, but there's a sense of responsibility that Frodo feels to protect Gollum. Even though he's tempted to have him just sniped by one of these merry men, he has a sense that he has an oath, a responsibility to protect Gollum. And it's not just because, he says we wouldn't have gotten anywhere close to where we are without him. We would have perished in the dead marshes.
Yeah.
It's not just that. He's yeah, if a servant makes an oath to a master, the master has responsibility for that person. And I think that's just a really interesting thing. But Faramir also has a sense of responsibility to Frodo and Sam. He's I'm just going to let you guys go off with this.
Creepazoid.
Yeah. He's done murder. I've seen it in his eyes. But Gollum also now for yet another time, he swears an oath on the ring. And when he starts to lie, after Faramir is may death find you swiftly within Gondor or without if you do not serve him. That's another curse that he lays on Gollum. Yeah. And when Gollum tries to lie to him and says that he doesn't know the name of the pass that he's going to, he yelps with pain. So there's this sense that these curses in Tolkien really matter. They actually take.
Yeah, totally. All right. Where do we start?
You want to jump right in?
I think we should just go into it. Right at the top, I want to just take a moment to notice this description after Frodo wakes up with Faramir bending over him. They kind of go off and Sam wakes up and hurries after them. And as he's hurrying after them, he walks past all these men, on mattresses against the wall. And then it says, and I think this is really beautiful, as he went by the cave mouth, he saw that the curtain was now become a dazzling veil of silk and pearls and silver thread, melting icicles of moonlight. And I think it's interesting. It says that Sam didn't pause to admire it, but Tolkien does pause to admire it.
Yeah,
right.
For sure. Yeah.
And it just reminds me of that this is a place of power. It's sort of like Amon Hen, it's in a high place and there's something kind of magical about it. And if the light hits it just right, you can kind of see that liminality or whatever.
Oh, yeah, that's a great word, liminality.
And I guess these few chapters truly are liminal because they take us from kind of Frodo and Sam lost and following Gollum to like this pause, and then they pass through it, and then they're on their way after these couple chapters here.
It really, I mean, last chapter I called it an in-betweener.
Yeah,
Like, if you think about it, like if you and I were writing the story, we would just take it straight from the Black Gate straight to Minas Morgul.
yeah, more than
And be like,
likely.
and then they just walked for 4 days to Minas Morgul. I mean, it's a consequential meeting. I mean, Faramir becomes more important in the next volume.
Yeah,
They do get resupplied with food. Um, there's kind of this like increased tension that kind of rises between Smeagol and the hobbits because of this like feeling of betrayal, I think, from Frodo.
yeah.
So I don't think it's like inconsequential, but is it necessary? I don't think
I
so.
I think it's necessary insofar as, and we haven't talked about this in a long time, but early on in Fellowship of the Ring, it's very important for the hobbits to stop and
Yeah,
rest
rest.
and like enjoy each other's company and have a meal and that kind of stuff. And so I kind of think that's what's going on here too, is like the ability to stop and just have human moments is with Faramir and his company and a couple good meals.
Yeah, yeah,
Really matters to Tolkien.
yeah,
Like that's
yeah,
how you keep going, not because you're such a badass, but because you're grounded in something other than your quest. You're grounded in your friendship and fellowship with others, um,
right, right.
and so is it a necessary plot beat? No, but
No.
it's super necessary to make this Lord of the Rings,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah, yeah. I just think it's an interesting like kind of pause in the action, and it's really it's like a vehicle to deliver a bunch of background. you
Yeah,
know, like the last couple chapters, we learned so much about like the founding of Rohan and the difference between Rohan and Gondor, stuff about, the character of Boromir and how he relates to his brother and how his brother's different. There's all kinds of like little things in this chapter. In chapter 6, we get all this background about Minas Morgul and like how it was like haunted by these men of Numenor who'd been given rings of power and they become living ghosts. And, so there's lots of like lore dumping that happens through this like, exposition that it really can't come in any other way than introducing a new wise character who sort of allows like Frodo to be almost like the proxy for the audience. It creates a natural way for Frodo to ask questions that we would ask because
yeah.
we are learning about these things at the same time as Frodo. So, yeah, I don't think it's unnecessary, but I definitely think it's just an indication of how unique Tolkien is that I don't think anybody else would write it this way.
I think it shows how. I mean, it's so confident. Like all the choices Tolkien makes are so well considered and just full of kind of they're just strong choices. They're confident choices. He is not at the whims of the plot. He has something he wants to say and a way he wants to say it, and that's what he does. It's really instructive for, I think, anybody writing something, especially fiction.
Yeah, yeah.
So makes it
Like,
super
hey,
enjoyable.
he knew he knew he was working on something special here, even though he
Yeah,
he never knew if anybody was ever going to read it.
right.
But yeah, so Faramir wakes up Frodo and you know tells him to come. Frodo does the whole thing that he does. It seems like every time he wakes up, where he's like, "Is it like what time is it?" Essentially, like, is it morning?
Yeah,
And he's like, "No, it's not quite morning yet, but the night is drawing to an end." He makes a point of telling us the full moon is setting, so kind of sets it up where even though they're going out into the night, they're still able to see clearly what's below them by the light of the moon. He, says like essentially like, "Will you come? There's a matter that I desire to have your counsel on. Sorry I woke you up, but will you come?" And he leaves. And I love this line. It says, "Sam, waking suddenly by some instinct of watchfulness, saw first his master's empty bed and leapt to his feet. Then he saw two dark figures, Frodo and a man, framed against the archway, which was now filled with a pale white light. So it's like he doesn't actually hear Frodo being woken. He's still dead asleep when that happens, but then he just like kind of jumps alert awake, like a new mother, like kind of like sensing that something's wrong with their baby or something. He's just
Yeah,
like
right.
he's so tuned in to needing to protect Frodo that he's woken from his sleep just by his absence. Faramir leads Frodo with Sam kind of, tottering behind past the curtain of, the waterfall, which you beautifully described, and leads them up into this high place where they're able to look down onto this pool visible in the moonlight. They get this beautiful description of kind of the surrounding area in the moonlight. They're
Mm-hmm.
able to see all this wilderness, out before them. It says pale mist shimmered in the great vale below, a wide gulf of silver fume, beneath which rolled the cool night watchers of the Anduin. A black darkness loomed beyond, and in it glinted here and there, cold, sharp, remote, white as the teeth of ghosts, the peaks of arid Nimrais, the white mountains of the realm of Gondor, tipped with everlasting snow. And Frodo, as he's looking out into this beautiful vastness,
He's like, damn, it's cold though, huh?
yeah, I mean he's shivering, and like Sam especially is like, all right, like yeah, Sam's like, it's a fine view, no doubt, Mr. Frodo, but chilly to the heart, not to mention the bones. What's going on? And Faramir is like very Council of Elrond. He's like, hey, you weren't actually summoned, so
Yeah.
maybe shut up.
Yeah, it's another meeting he wasn't invited to.
Oh, it's just that's another constant theme I think we've picked up in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
It says, as for you, Samwise, you were not brought, and do but pay the penalty of your watchfulness. A draught of wine shall mend it. So he's like, yeah, I'll give you a little wine to warm up your bones, but right now come and look and basically be quiet. But what I started to say earlier is that Frodo's mind turns to his companions.
Mm-hmm.
When he's looking out into the vastness of the Nightlands, he wonders if his old companions walked or slept or lay dead shrouded in mist. So his mind is always turning to his friends.
Yeah. We'll have to note if, as Frodo is, considering where the rest of the company is, when we catch up with the rest of the company, do we get any kind of like parallel, thoughts around the same time?
Yeah.
Because that seems to be the case, at least in a few places where we get kind of parallel action, and it's hard to put together because it's not like these chapters are like interleaved with each other. But I kind of like that it's sort of mysterious that way. It's not like obvious that as one thing's happening, the same thing is happening somewhere else, or or something else is happening at the same time. That is.
And there are a few times when Tolkien kind of breaks the narrative to be like, and while this is going on,
Yeah. Like
checking back in with our faithful friends,
underlines it. Yeah.
Yeah. There are a few times when he zooms out like that, but the rest of the time you almost have to kind of piece it together by either a mention of the date or a mention of the stage of the moon.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true.
But they come to, sort of this edge, and there's a sentinel standing there. Their attention is brought to this pool. It says, Faramir and Frodo looked down. Far below them, they saw the white waters pour into a foaming bowl and then swirl darkly about a deep oval basin in the rocks until they found their way out again through a narrow gate and flowed away, fuming and chattering into calmer and more level reaches. This is such a visual, like he's such a visual storyteller. He clearly just like has such a clear picture of these things in his mind.
Yeah. I love the phrase fuming and chattering because it's visual, and then the way that water, when it's hitting rocks and things like that, makes that kind of chattering sound, almost like voices.
Yeah.
But he even like takes us into like calmness too. Like you know that the flow of the water is going to get calmer, as it comes out of these kind of rapids.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful.
And it says, presently Frodo was aware of a small dark thing on the near bank, but even as he looked at it, it dived and vanished just beyond the boil and bubble of the fall, cleaving the black water as neatly as an arrow or an edgewise stone. Such a beautiful description of the dive, you know?
Yeah, he's really like a, Gollum is really a able sort of waterman. Like he's a great swimmer, and I think he gets described again as a frog here.
Yeah, he's described as a frog, a squirrel, a kingfisher,
Uh-huh.
which is also like really good at diving,
Yeah.
kind of beak first.
Right.
His dive is described as man-wise.
Yeah.
So there's just lots of like kind of like descriptions like in metaphors. Like Gollum is really hard to describe.
Yeah. Yeah, is he a kingfisher? Is he a spider? Is he a frog?
Yeah. Is he a
is
man?
he dark? Is he pale?
Yeah. I noticed that too. I kind of mentioned, I noted to mention that it's a small dark thing, but later his lips are described as pale lips.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, so which is it? Is he dark?
That's really interesting. It's almost like his like being or something, because of his, hundreds of years with the ring, has been like destabilized.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So Faramir turns to the man on his side, who we learned is named Anborn. Lots of great like Gondorian names here.
Yeah, totally.
And he says, "Now, what would you say that is, Anborn? A squirrel or a kingfisher? Are there black kingfishers in the night pools of Mirkwood?" "'Tis not a bird, whatever else it be," answered Anborn. "It has 4 limbs and dives manwise. A pretty mastery of the craft it shows, too." And Faramir turns to Frodo and says, "Shall we shoot?"
I think it's really fascinating that Frodo doesn't answer for a moment.
Yeah, he thinks about it.
He's really not quite sure, but we don't really get Frodo's thoughts on it. We get Sam's thoughts,
Yeah, Sam is like, "Oh, please.
And
Do me a favor."
Of course, Frodo says no, but if Sam would have said yes, and it's kind of like he almost does.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even know what they're looking at. Sam doesn't. He just guesses that it's
Sam's
Smeagol.
like, he's just like kind of like looking out into the darkness, kind of hearing their description. He's like, I'm
He's like,
pretty
I
sure
know
that's
what it is. It's Stinker.
It's a little slinker,
Yeah.
slinker and stinker. But yeah, Frodo has a moment of like pause, and I think it kind of comes out in this chapter that Frodo is tempted to have Gollum just sniped like this. And he is tempted by it. As he's about to go and kind of lure him out of the water in a second, he has a moment where he's just like, maybe
we should just go ahead and
maybe we just move on.
Just take care of this now.
But Frodo eventually says no. He says, "No, I beg you not to." And Faramir responds, "You know then what this thing is? Come now, you have seen. Tell me why it should be spared. In all our words together, you have not once spoken of your gangrel companion, and I let him be for the time." So there's that word gangrel again. Do you remember? We looked up gangrel. Do you remember what it means?
I can't remember. I just think of it as like gangly, kind of like.
Yeah, it's like lanky.
Yeah.
Like a vagabond. Like a gangrel is like a beggar or like a really thin, starving person. Faramir says, "I marvel at the creature, so secret and so sly as he is, to come sporting in the pool before our very window. Does he think that men sleep without watch all night? Why does he do so?" And Frodo says, "Look, I think there's potentially 2 answers here. First of all, he doesn't know anything about men. And even though he's really sly, this place really truly is hidden. Like, I don't think anybody would just find it. But he says, I think he is also allured here by a mastering desire stronger than his caution."
Yeah, they get into a conversation about the ring here.
Yeah.
But I also just think Gollum might be hungry. You know what I mean?
That's kind of what Frodo gets at. So, I mean, and here's another example of Frodo kind of like spilling the beans.
Yeah.
Faramir's like, "Can he know then of your burden?" And Frodo's like, "Indeed, yes, he bore it for many years." It's like, all right, Frodo, maybe like, kind of keep this button down a little bit. So Faramir is like shocked by this. He goes, "He bore it. This matter winds itself ever in new riddles. Then he is pursuing it?" And Frodo says, "Maybe, but I wasn't talking about that." And Faramir says, "What then does he seek?" And Frodo says, "Fish, look." So yeah, he's like, he's allured here by a mastering desire stronger than his caution. And we're kind of led to believe through a little bit of wordplay here that Frodo is talking about the ring.
Yeah.
But really it's a simpler desire than that. He just really wants some fish. Like fish is
hungry. It's his favorite
Gollum's
thing.
favorite thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Lord Gollum
That's what he
eating
talks
fish
about more than
3 times a
anything.
day from the sea. Yeah.
Right.
Good as fish. It's his favorite thing there is.
But of course, he picked really the wrong place to fish because this is like a
Yeah.
sacred pool. No one's supposed to touch it. Faramir says, "Fish. It is a less perilous hunger, or maybe not. Fish from the pool of Henneth Anun may cost him all he has to give." Anborn is really eager to snipe this guy.
It's like, hey, Faramir.
It's like, I can get him. I got him at arrow point,
Yeah. Like, hey, say the word, bud.
Right.
But Frodo really, he makes a case. He's like, Gandalf, your Mithrandir, would have bidden you not to kill him, not to slay him. He goes, he forbade the elves to do so. So he's like, not only Gandalf tell me not to kill him, he told the elves not to kill him. He goes, I do not know clearly why, and of what I guess I cannot speak openly out here. But this creature is in some way bound up with my errand. Until you found us and took us, he was my guide. And so here's kind of the revelation, it's kind of finally all out. And Faramir is just gobsmacked by this.
He also makes a appeal to ethics where he says the creature is wretched and hungry and unaware of danger. You can't just kill him. And I don't think Faramir would necessarily, because he seems even kind of grieved to kill
anything,
animals and things like that, for food.
He's like, I kill neither man nor beast without reason, and even then, not without regret.
Right. Frodo, I just like that he kind of covers all his bases. He appeals to ethics and he appeals to authority, in Gandalf, and even kind of brings the elves in and, kind of know that Faramir has some respect for the elves.
Right.
But yeah, Faramir's it's like one thing after another. Faramir can't believe that he possessed the ring for so long. And then he's like, this just keeps getting stranger. This guy's your guide? What are you talking about?
Guide? What?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And he's like, look, I understand that he's your guide and that you don't want him killed, but I can't just let him wander around here. We got to figure out a way to get him under control because.
Yes. Either shoot him or capture him. There's no other.
I have a duty, right, to make sure that this area is clear, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this guy is the opposite of that.
Yeah.
So,
it's you and your little 3-foot, little furry-footed, friend are one thing. But this
thing
gangly frog, spider, kingfisher, mannish, evil-looking, murderous thing,
right.
I'm not just going to let him go.
No.
So Frodo says, let me go down to him. He says, you may keep your bows bent and shoot me at least if I fail. I shall not run away. So he's like, okay, I know that I'm still kind of under arrest as well. But if you let me go and get him, if I make a run for it, you can shoot me. So Frodo has some self-awareness here that he still also is sort of under arrest.
Yeah, not totally free to go.
Faramir, he goes, okay, you can do this, but he kind of leans in and whispers in Frodo's ear, and forget not that there are bowmen near at hand, though you may not see them. So I think there's a little
threat there.
Faramir's like, hey, look, I like you a lot, but these guys nearby, they won't hesitate to shoot you if you try to run away. So Frodo creeps over. It says he creeps over Gollum, kind of hand first,
using his hands. Yeah, fascinating.
Yeah, and we get Gollum's just nasty, kind of monologue.
Yeah,
you want to read it out?
Singing to the fish. Fish, nice fish. Whiteface has vanished, my precious, at last, yes. Now we can eat fish in peace. No, not in peace, precious, for precious is lost. Yes, lost. Dirty hobbits, nasty hobbits, gone and left us. Gollum. And precious is gone, only poor Smeagol all alone. No, precious, nasty men, they'll take it. Steal my precious. Thieves, we hates them. Fish, nice fish, makes us strong, makes us bright, fingers tight, yes. Throttle them, precious, throttle them all, yes, when we get the chance. Nice fish, nice fish. It's
so
whoa.
Gross.
Oh my gosh.
So gross. Do you think when he's saying fingers tight, he's saying so that, because right after he says throttle them, is he saying we're going to eat fish so that we can kill them more easily? It'll make us strong.
Yeah.
Fingers tight. Yeah. Ugh. It looks like we're only really getting a portion of this kind of disgusting monologue. Because says,
Yeah, he listens
so
for a
it went
while.
on almost as unceasingly as the waterfall, only interrupted by a faint noise of slavering and gurgling.
Gross.
So Frodo's disgusted by this, but he also looks on him with pity. It says, Frodo shivered, listening with pity and disgust. He wished it would stop and that he never need hear that voice again. Anborn was not far behind. So basically he's saying like, he's kind of fantasizing about having it done right there. Frodo thinks only one true shot and Frodo would be rid of the miserable voice forever. But no, Gollum had a claim on him now. The servant has a claim on the master for service, even service in fear. They would have foundered in the dead marshes but for Gollum. Frodo knew, too, somehow, quite clearly, that Gandalf would not have wished it.
I really love that. I mean, the piece about, we've talked about this a little bit already, but the piece that, Gollum had a claim on him, that they're united or they're tied together through the oath, being in that position of authority over someone,
Comes
you
with
have
responsibility.
a responsibility for them just as much as they have a responsibility to like live up to their oath to you.
Yeah. And Gandalf is just like kind of like, still in the back of Frodo's mind. Like he
Gandalf's in his mind. And I remembered a few chapters ago where Frodo almost has like a vision or a conversation with Gandalf, like in his memory.
Yeah.
And so that's certainly still on his mind.
So Frodo kind of comes down and he goes, Smeagol. And Gollum doesn't hear him at first. He's just like, fish, fish, nice fish. And Frodo says it louder, Smeagol. Smeagol, Master has come to look for you. Master is here. Come, Smeagol. Says there was no answer but a soft hiss as of intaken breath. Frodo says again, now third time, come, Smeagol. We're in danger. Men will kill you if they find you here. Come quickly. If you wish to escape death, come to Master.
I don't think we've seen the word Smeagol repeated so many times. It's really dramatic, like in the printed text. Like Smeagol, 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 Smeagol. And then down the page, Smeagol.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He says it 5 in a row.
It really sticks out.
Yeah, it sort of calls him out of his like little trance that he's in. This like gorging moment where he's eating fish, but he's also just like kind of falling like deeper and deeper into his madness.
When Smeagol finally comes over to Frodo, it's like kind of disturbing, I think. He comes over and it says he comes so close. He's got a fish in his mouth and one in his hand. And he comes close to Frodo, almost nose to nose, and sniffed at him. Like, that's gross. He's got this fish hanging out of his mouth. He's sniffing at Frodo. His pale eyes are shining. And then he took the fish out of his mouth and stood up. So they're both kind of like on their hands and knees, right?
Yeah, it's like, he's been compared to a dog so many times.
Yeah. And that happens again here, too.
A little bit later, I think it says that he sniffed to like be able to tell what time of night it was.
Yeah, strange.
Yeah, so he's definitely got this like sense of smell, but yeah, it definitely has this like dog, like, timidly coming and like kind of sniffing the hand of a master who maybe is, mistreated it somehow. It's like they're kind of reestablishing trust. But, Smeagol, like, he says, no, not nice, Master. Leaves poor Smeagol and goes with new friends. Master can wait. Smeagol hasn't finished. So he's like, no, like, I'm not going to come. There's something very petulant about that. But also there's a sense of like he's wounded, even though he's planning fully to murder Frodo and steal the ring with Shelob's help. Like he like from the very beginning, I think we established that murder, like he's never truly ever fully committed to Frodo.
That's the plan. The plan is to lead these guys to Shelob and let her eat them.
Yeah. Like from the get.
Right.
But there's still this woundedness. He's like leaves poor Smeagol and goes with new friends. Like there's something so like strange about that, isn't it? Like, even though he's planning on betraying him, he feels betrayed. And it's almost like a justification. It's like, oh, well, you betrayed me and now I'm going to betray you, even though he's been planning on doing it from the very beginning.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I wanted to note this. Frodo says, Smeagol, yet again, desperately, Precious will be angry. I shall take Precious, and I shall say, make him swallow the bones and choke. Never taste fish again. Come, Precious is waiting.
Dark.
like he's like, hey, like, come with me, or I will command you using the ring to choke on the bones of the fish that are in your mouth right now.
It's dark. It's dark, and it shows, I think what Frodo learned from Galadriel about, kind of desiring to command or use the ring to command. But it also shows the effect I think the ring has on people, that Frodo never would have thought to use it to command before, but now he's had it on for several months, and already, he's willing to. I mean, it's really disturbing. I mean,
command someone to commit suicide,
command someone to choke on their favorite food and die. Yeah. It's like, goodness gracious, Well, it's kind of no wonder that he can't take the thing off in a couple months from now, or however long
you
it
can
takes.
already see the way that it's changing his personality. And this is the second time now that he's threatened Gollum with like a command to commit suicide.
Yeah.
About 47 pages ago in my edition. So this is 687 in my edition. Back in The Black Gate is Closed, when Smeagol says, basically like, why don't you just give it to me? Nice hobbits, give me the ring, and then, you guys can go and I'll just take care of it from here. Like, you guys did your best. Like, here we are, there's nothing you can do about it now. Frodo at that point says, in the last need, Smeagol, I should put on the precious, and the precious mastered you long ago. If I, wearing it, were to command you, you would obey, even if it were to leap from a precipice or to cast yourself into the fire, and such would be my command. So this is the second time now that he's said, like, I will put on the ring and command you to kill yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's dark. It's really dark.
Smeagol's love for the ring is almost more pure than anyone's. He really just wants to possess the ring.
Yeah.
And eat fish.
Yeah. And
so, I mean, it's just interesting how the ring comports itself to whatever the striving of the, sort of self-regard of the person who has it.
Yeah. The nature.
The ring kind of exists in that realm. And I know we've talked about that a little, but it just occurs to me that, like, here's Frodo, he's like, I'm going to command you to do these things because I have that kind of will. And meanwhile, Smeagol's like, I just want to, like, sit under a mountain and, like, paw at the ring and eat fish.
Yeah. That's just all I want to do.
That's fascinating. I think it's so interesting.
So Gollum, he comes kind of whimpering over. He sniffs at him like you mentioned, like an erring dog called to heel. And Smeagol is like, all right, hey, yeah, let's get out of here. Like, it's great that you're alone. Luckily the cross rude hobbit isn't even with you.
Yeah.
So you and I can just, like, prance off into the forest and, like, get back to it. But Frodo's like, no, we have to wait. We can't go at once. I will go with you as I promised. I promise again, but not now. You are not safe yet. I will save you, but you must trust me. Gollum's like, all right, but can't we just, leave the nasty, mean, rude hobbit behind? And Frodo's like, no, I'm not going to leave without him. We have to go back for him. So he does lie to Gollum here. He doesn't, like, reveal, like, the nature of their danger. It even says here, certainly what Frodo did would seem a treachery to the poor, treacherous creature. So it's like, because Gollum is treacherous, he's going to see and read Frodo's kind of, like, half-truth here as treachery itself.
This is the part, I think I mentioned this earlier. It says, this is the only way he could save Gollum's life. What else could he do? To keep faith, or near as might be, with both sides.
Yeah.
So he's between a rock and a hard place. And I think it's true of life that there are times where you make a decision that's just
There's
mixed.
no good choice.
There's not a good choice to make. And so he does his best to keep faith with Gollum, to his oath, and to the claim that Gollum has on him, but also to these people who he sees as allies. But then, of course, he threatens them again. Come, or Precious will be angry. We're going now.
Yeah.
And then Gollum susses it out basically immediately. He's got kind of, like, enhanced senses.
Yeah.
And he knows that there's something out here that's not a hobbit.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, something's out here. No, not a hobbit. And suddenly he turns back, and that's when they grab him, and he screams out, "Master, master, wicked, tricksy, false." He spits and stretches out his long arms, and yeah, he feels absolutely betrayed. And Anborn is much less gentle with Smeagol. He goes, "Hold still, or we'll stick you as full of pins as a hedgehog."
And they tie him up, and it says they tie him none too gently, which reminded me of Sam, kind of just gently. As much as Sam claims to hate Gollum, he still is kind of
loose knot.
Just ties a loose knot around him.
Frodo urges the men to treat him gently. He's like, he doesn't have any strength to match you, and then he says to Gollum, "Trust, master. They won't kill you unless they kill me too." So they put a hood over him and they carry him away. And it says that Frodo feels completely wretched. And I think that Sam's response is so funny when they get back up to the top. Sam's like, "Got him?"
Yeah. And there's a kind of misunderstanding here between Sam and Frodo in the dialogue. Sam says, "Got him?" And then Frodo says, "Yes. Well, no, I didn't get him. He came to me because he trusted me. At first, I'm afraid. I didn't want him tied up like this. I hope that it will be all right. But I hate this whole business." And then Sam says, "So do I. And nothing ever will be right where that piece of misery is."
Yeah, so it's almost like Sam's like, "Yeah, I hate this whole business too. I wish they'd killed him."
Yeah, they're just out of step, And it really highlights Frodo's kind of care and concern about doing what he believes is the right thing. I mean, there's a way in which Sam reads the situation correctly.
Yeah.
Like this gangrel creature is not to be trusted, right? Like anybody could see that, but Frodo has like a higher perspective or something.
Even though Frodo was just thinking about how much he wishes that he could be rid of him too.
Yeah, right.
You're right that like Sam's perspective is just a little more simple. I underlined this, so they have Smeagol in this like sack. He's like in a bundle, and Faramir, gets some seats and lights a lamp, and sets down some stools, and he says, "Bring wine for the guests, and bring the prisoner to me." So I think there's an interesting distinction between the guests and the prisoner. Frodo and Sam are guests. Smeagol is not a guest.
Yeah.
So they bring wine and they carry in Gollum and they remove the cover from his head. And here we get this like little description of him. He's described as having heavy, pale lids. He stinks. He's dripping. It says his sparse locks were hanging like rank weed over his bony brows. His nose was sniveling. So he's just completely, disgusting. And he screams, loose us. The cord hurts us. Yes, it does. It hurts us. And we've done nothing." And Faramir says, "Nothing? Have you never done anything worthy of binding or worse punishment? However, that is not for me to judge, happily. But tonight you come where it is death to come. The fish of this pool are dearly bought." And Gollum just like drops his fish. He's like, I don't want any fish. I don't even want them. Yeah, just let me go. And Faramir's like, "Hey, look, I would have killed you if Frodo hadn't like spoken for you and interjected. So, basically count yourself lucky.
I have spared you so far at the prayer of Frodo here."
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
The prayer of Frodo.
And I guess it's like the oldest, like kind of version of prayer, right? Which just means like to ask.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
or to beg.
Right.
But Faramir's like, "But you have to satisfy me. What is your name? Whence do you come? And whither do you go? What is your business?"
And then it's just a series of denials.
Yeah, pitiful, passive aggressive.
But like Gollum's whole existence is a denial, It's like something about that like evil that's like infected him. We are lost. No name, no business, no precious, nothing. Only empty. Only hungry. He's just like a it's like a vacuum, right, in the world.
Yeah, miserable.
Miserable.
Yes, we are hungry. A few little fishes, nasty, bony little fishes for a poor creature. And they say death. So wise they are, so just, so very just. So he's so passive aggressive. This is definitely got that same like kind of air as like what does he say earlier where I said he was passive aggressive?
When
he's offered the limbus.
Yeah, he's offered
like,
the
it's
limbus.
Okay. Smeagol will starve.
Right.
Smeagol will starve. Poor Smeagol. You're trying to choke me. It's okay.
Yeah, he's a martyr.
I feel like we all have like a toxic person like this in our lives, though. Someone who like willfully like misreads intentions and like tries to,
Triangulates and yeah,
like, oh, you're trying to kill me.
right.
You're not just, but it's okay. It's all right. No one helps me do the dishes, but I'll do them. Yeah. Nobody lift a finger. I'm the only one who does anything around here. He's got that kind of just, narcissistic, passive aggressive
Yeah,
personality. He's always the victim. And if someone dares to try and help, he refuses the help because he likes the power of being able to claim being a victim. Like he's able to manipulate people by being a victim more than he is by being helped.
exactly. Yep. All negative. All just, under. He's one down, and
Yeah.
that's how he
Yeah.
gets one over on you.
Exactly.
Yep.
So Faramir tries to establish like if he knows what this place is. And I think that he's pretty clearly, I think Gollum actually is telling the truth here, that he didn't
Yeah.
know that this was a like holdfast. He says, we doesn't know and we doesn't want to know. Never came here, never come again. And I think Faramir is, convinced by that, but he goes, there are locked doors and closed windows in your mind and dark rooms behind them. But in this I judge that you speak the truth. It is well for you. What oath will you swear never to return and never to lead any living creature hither by word or sign? And that's where now for the second time, Smeagol says, Frodo, Master knows what I would swear on.
Mm-hmm.
Because we promise by it. Yes. Smeagol promises to the precious, promises faithfully, never come again, never speak, no, never, no, precious, no. And Faramir asks Frodo, are you satisfied? And Frodo says yes.
Frodo pushes Faramir to say, you have to accept this promise. You will get no more. But I promise that if he came to me, he should not be harmed, and I would not be proved faithless. There's a lot going on. I mean, there's so much. This is a short chapter, but there's so much going on. All this idea of like faithfulness, which I think of as like, steadfastness or loyalty. And then just to scroll back really for 1 second, this line I think is important. There are locked doors and closed windows in your mind and dark rooms behind them. Faramir has like a power of like insight, right? And we've talked about that before.
Yes.
But I also think, so he has this insight. Frodo also has some of this insight. And I think, we've talked about Frodo spilling the beans. I think Frodo, like when someone with Frodo's insight comes into contact with somebody like Faramir's insight in Lord of the Rings, there's like a immediate trust that gets developed.
Yeah.
Like a spiritual connection.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you would call it like a Numenorian thing or whatever, but Faramir certainly has that kind of deep knowledge.
Intuition.
He can't read somebody's mind the way the Galadriel can.
Right.
But he does edge on that.
Yeah, he has like a power of perception.
A perception. Yeah, it's good.
But I think this is worthy of kind of breaking down. Faramir says, I surrender you to your master, to Frodo, son of Drogo. Let him declare what he will do with you. But then Frodo says, but Lord Faramir, he bows low. You have not yet declared your will concerning the said Frodo, and until that is made known, he cannot shape his plans for himself or his companions. Your judgment was postponed until the morning, but that is now at hand. And Faramir says, then I will declare my doom, which is, his like declaration of like their future. As for you, Frodo, insofar as lies in me under high authority, I declare you free in the realm of Gondor to the furthest of its ancient bounds, save only that neither you nor any that you go with have leave to come to this place unbidden. This doom shall stand for a year and a day, and then cease, unless you shall before the term come to Minas Tirith and present yourself to the Lord and steward of the city. Then I will entreat him to confirm what I have done and to make it lifelong. In the meantime, whomsoever you take under your protection shall be under my protection, and under the shield of Gondor are you answered. So, like, as he, he asked for Smeagol's oath, and he looks to Frodo and he says, are you satisfied? And now Frodo's like, yeah, not fully satisfied, because you kind of haven't, let me go yet, so I can't really like say that I could promise Smeagol that he's going to be safe. And
Yeah.
then he says, "Are you answered?" So I think that the echo of those two things is a really interesting like formality. Are you satisfied? Are you answered? And Faramir giving this like almost like lawyerly
Yeah. All of a
declaration.
sudden, the law sort of like invades the story,
Yes,
Like
yes,
suddenly there's like a cord like wrapped around this that goes all the way back to the city of Gondor, and Faramir as like the representative of the steward in this part of Gondor has power to like tie and loose.
yeah, yeah,
It really does get super formal. It's a long paragraph of text there. It's fascinating also that Frodo kind of understands that,
yeah.
that
And he kind of
like,
adopts the same like kind of legal language. He goes, "I am answered, and I place myself at your service, if that is of any worth to one so high and honorable." So he takes on like the same kind of like lawyerly tone.
yeah,
And then Faramir says, "It is of great worth. And now do you take this creature, this Smeagol, under your protection?" It has almost like a marriage, like, "And now do you take this gangrel?"
yeah, you're his custodian or something. You have responsibility for whatever he does.
Frodo says, "I do take Smeagol under my protection." But I love that, it's got this like real formal tone, but Sam sighs audibly. He's like, "Oh my God. Now we have like the protection of Gondor behind our like commitment to this little guy,
Yeah.
this little murderer." It says he sighs audibly, and not at the courtesies of which any hobbit would have thoroughly approved. Indeed, in the Shire, such matters would have required a great many more words and bows. So,
I was going to ask, like, where did Frodo learn to talk like this? But here's the answer, right? Is that, like, they're
yeah,
even more polite in the Shire, right?
yeah,
Like,
yes,
they even go beyond the bounds of, like, all of this, which is all, it's like 3 or 4 paragraphs. And you just, I don't know, you get like, again, I just love the hobbits, right? But like, you get a little glimpse into the way hobbit culture is and how
yes,
much time they spend kind of in community, right? Like being
yeah,
polite to each other. It kind of
yeah,
like makes them who they are. Yeah.
yeah. Then Faramir turns to Gollum and says, "Then I say to you, you are under doom of death, but while you walk with Frodo, you are safe for our part. Yet if ever you be found by any man of Gondor astray without him, the doom shall fall. And may death find you swiftly within Gondor or without, if you do not well serve him. Now answer me, whither would you go?" So he says essentially, like, if you, like, you are already condemned to death because you were in this pool without our leave, you know?
Right.
And if you're found without Frodo, that doom will fall on you, right? Like I'm postponing it. I'm not removing it. I'm postponing it.
Yeah.
Like you have already done something worthy of death. And so I'm going to give you like a temporary stay on your execution.
Right.
Then he says, "And may death find you swiftly within Gondor or without, if you do not well serve him." That's a curse.
Right.
Saying like, and on top of that, if you mistreat Frodo, son of Drogo, you are now like contractually, spiritually bound to him in a way that you will die if you
Mm-hmm.
mistreat him. And so I think this is almost like a compound of the curse that Frodo lays on Gollum, where it's like, if you betray us, I will take the ring and I will command you to kill yourself. I think this is almost like another curse on top of that. So Gollum
Right.
is really setting himself up to die because he's planning to betray Frodo. Like these are now two curses that he is going to go against by like very spiritually powerful people.
Yeah, he's not in a good position, that's for sure. I mean, I think it underlines how pitiable Gollum is. That it sort of seems like from the very beginning of his life, he was kind of destined to have a hard
Terrible
go.
end. Yeah.
And then he comes across the ring, and boy, like that is it. Even as disgusting as he is, I really think that Gandalf's insight into, Bilbo's pity being the salvation of the world
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
so always worth stopping and
Yeah.
reflecting on.
Absolutely. So Faramir asked, you were his guide. Where were you going to lead him? Faramir's like, "I won't have this be a secret. Like, you know, we've all been kind of talking, not lying, but kind of like not giving away the fullness of what we know. Now I need to know, where are you going? Frodo says, I'll answer, because Gollum is not answering. He's like, I asked him to take me to the Black Gate. We found that impassable. And Faramir is like, there is no open gate into the Nameless Land. But Frodo is like, seeing this, we turned aside to a southward road, for he says that there was a path near Minas Ithil. And Faramir responds, Minas Morgul. So it's like, yeah, you had Minas Ithil. It's not Minas Ithil anymore. Now it's Minas Morgul, which more, anytime you hear the word more in Tolkien, that's bad.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
It means black,
Right.
Moria, Mordor, Morgul, Morgul Vale, Minas Morgul, like all these things mean black. They're not good. Frodo says, I do not know clearly, but the path climbs, I think, up into the mountains in the northern side of that vale where the old city stands. It goes up to a high cleft and so down to that which is beyond. And Faramir asks Frodo, he says, do you know the name of that high pass? And Frodo says, no. And he goes, it is called Cirith Ungol. And he turns to Smeagol and he says, is that not its name? And Gollum lies and says, no. But when he lies, it says Gollum then squealed as if something had stabbed him. So it seems like this curse that Faramir has laid on him sort of immediately acts. He says, if you mislead Frodo, that doom will come to you swiftly. And he lies in front of Faramir right to his face, and he's like stabbed by some like unseen knife almost. And he answers truthfully again. Finally, he answers truthfully. He says, yes, yes, we heard the name once, but what does that name matter to us? Master says he must get in, so we must try some way. There was no other way to try. No.
Really shows how powerful Faramir is, that he has got like a spiritual power beyond what Boromir had. And it also strikes me that these few chapters function similarly to Council of Elrond in the sense that they're kind of like a funnel that, as you said earlier, this is kind of the place where it's like, we're finally going to get all this out clearly. And so it all comes to this point, which kind of gives us the momentum right at the end of the funnel to like be pushed into this next part of the story.
I think it's really interesting that Faramir is like, hey, like, I think you do very unwisely in this. He's like, I do not think you should go with this creature. It is wicked. And Frodo's like, no, it's not altogether wicked. Faramir says, malice eats it like a canker, and the evil is growing.
Yeah.
So he's like, he's not going to lead you anywhere good. He goes, if you decide to part with him, I will give him safe conduct, and we'll take him to the edge of the borders of Gondor, essentially. And Frodo's like, he wouldn't let you do that. He goes, he would follow after me as he long has done. So he's basically saying like the gravitational pull of the ring
right
is too strong for him. Like that well is too steep, and there's nothing that's going to happen except for him to fall into it. And he says, you would not ask me to break faith with him. Like, I just swore to protect him, in front of you, and he swore to guide me. And Faramir says, no, I wouldn't ask you to break an oath, but my heart would. For it seems less evil to counsel another man to break troth than to do so oneself, especially if one sees a friend bound unwitting to his own harm. But he says, but no, if he will go with you, you must now endure him. But I do not think that you are holden to go to Cirith Ungol, of which he has told you less than he knows. And so Frodo asks, like, what do you know against this place that makes it so dreadful? And that's where we get this kind of lore dump about how, Minas Ithil used to be beautiful, and it was like the sister city to Minas Tirith. It was built by the men of Numenor. It was beautiful. It was Isildur's city. But then, the enemy, even though he had been kind of sent off into nothingness, his captains had kind of come back and began to haunt this place. It says, it wasn't long before a shapeless fear lived within the ruined walls. 9 lords there were, and after the return of their master, which they aided and prepared in secret, they grew strong again. Then the 9 riders issued forth from the gates of horror, and we could not withstand them. Do not approach their citadel. You will be espied. It is a place of sleepless malice, full of lidless eyes. Do not go that way.
Frodo responds and says, where else would you have me go? And
Yeah.
And this is what we started the chapter with, right?
Yeah.
And I think, no one ever has like a clear sense of what Frodo should do.
No.
He never gets clear directions about where he should go or what he should do.
He's like, I don't want you to go near the citadel because it's like this haunted place. But he doesn't want him to go in the paths above it either. He goes, we of Gondor do not ever pass east on the road these days, and none of us younger men has ever done so, nor has any of us set foot upon the mountains of shadow. Of them we know only old report and the rumor of bygone days. There is some dark terror that dwells in the passes above Minas Morgul. If Cirith Ungol is named, old men and masters of lore will blanch and fall silent. So it seems like Faramir knows like there's something like she, at this point only hinted at by Gollum, is there. He says to Faramir, and I think this is worth rereading again, he goes, would you have me come to Gondor with this thing, the thing that drove your brother mad with desire? What spell would it work in Minas Tirith? Shall there be two cities of Minas Morgul grinning at each other across a dead land filled with rottenness? And Faramir concedes. He goes, no, I wouldn't have you bring it back to Minas Tirith. But he says, I'm just almost certain that Mithrandir would not have you go this way. And we established, like, back in the Black Gate chapter, still very unclear, like, even what Gandalf was planning on doing once they got there.
Yeah, we never get an answer.
But Faramir says it is a hard doom and a hopeless errand. So there's probably like the 6th time that the word doom is said in this chapter. But at least remember my warning. Beware of this guide Smeagol. He has done murder before now. I read it in him. So there's his perception, his insight. I mean, he's right. Smeagol has done lots of murdering in his 500 years of life. Yeah. He says, well, so we meet in part, Frodo, son of Drogo. You have no need of soft words. I do not hope to see you again on any other day under the sun. But you shall go now with my blessing upon you, and upon all your people. Rest a little while food is prepared for you. I would gladly learn how this creeping Smeagol became possessed of the thing of which we speak, and how he lost it, but I will not trouble you now. If ever beyond hope you return to the land of the living, and we retell our tales, sitting by a wall in the sun, laughing at old grief, you shall tell me then. Until that time, or some other time beyond the vision of the seeing stones of Numenor, farewell. Well, good chapter, man.
Yeah, this is a good one. We read a lot of this one. I mean, out loud on the podcast. Yeah. And I think it just shows like how dense these chapters are.
Every word is considered.
And whenever, maybe that's a good guide, is like, whenever I count the pages and I'm like, oh, this is a short one. Like, I'm still going to spend as much time on it, because the reason it's short is because he edited it down, right, to like the very minimum amount of words possible to describe, like what's going on. And so, but I think it's really rewarding to, to spend the time that we are on this. It's super fun. So,
yeah. And this book, like as in book 4, is just full of, really great exposition.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really beautifully written.
Well, as always, thank you for reading along with us this week and listening to our Lord of the Rings radio program. You can join us next week for Book 4, Chapter 7, Journey to the Crossroads. And if you want to help us out, share the podcast with the Lord of the Rings fan in your life. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever else you find your casts of pod. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts. 5-star review and a little blurb goes a long way to helping the podcast find new listeners. Of course, you can subscribe on YouTube, and of course, visit waywardwizards.com for more info. It's a great way to share with your friends as well.
But until next time, remember, do not approach their citadel. You will be espied. It is a place of sleepless malice, full of lidless eyes. Do not go that way. See you next week.
See ya.